Hello, and welcome to our first live session together on essay writing. It's very exciting to be with you all here in London and talking to you halfway across the world. Very exciting. My name is Quentin, and you might recognize me from the video that hopefully you've seen. And I'm going to be taking you through how to write an essay in English. Now, essay writing. What is it? Let's just go over that quickly. Now, you might remember from the video on Tuesday that when we were talking about what is an essay, I said an essay is building an argument about a specific topic for a reader. So let's just try and understand what that means a little bit. Building an argument essentially means saying something. The key thing here is that we're writing it. So when you say something to your friend, you might talk in a certain way, but when we're writing it, we want to be writing in a more formal way. If you remember that from the video, we were talking about things being formal when we write. So one of the things we'll be looking at is how to write in a correct, let's say correct manner. And the three things you want to be thinking about are the topic. So this is the question. You'll be asked a question normally. You'll get a title, and that's going to be the title of your essay. So that's the topic. So that's basically, we're going to call that the title. And then you want to be thinking about who's going to be reading it. That's the reader. And lastly, the argument, which is basically what you want to say. So what you want to say. And if you remember, I drew a big triangle between these three things. So I just want you to write that down for me, that triangle, write it down. So as we go, especially in these live sessions, I'm going to give you time to write things down and to make notes. So that can be on a tablet, like I've got here with my special pencil, or on a piece of paper with a pen or a pencil. It's up to you. Whatever works best for you, whatever you normally do, you can do. But I'm going to give you time as we go through to do a little bit of work on your own. And the first thing I want you to do is copy this down, because this is a triangle which is going to be really important as we go, because the triangle allows you to think about the title, what it's about, your essay, the reader, who's reading the essay, and what you want to say about the title. So those are the three things I want you to keep in mind. If you can keep that in mind, that's a really good starting point. We're at the start of our journey together in terms of understanding how to write in English. And I would say this triangle is the thing to remember. That relationship between title, what the essay is about, what you want to say, and I called that your argument, if you remember in the video, your argument being just what you want to say about the title. So that's an important relationship between title and what you want to say. And also, you need to think about the reader. Who's going to be reading? And do you need to change your writing depending on who that person is? So those relationships between title, reader, and what you want to say are going to be crucial. So I'm going to give you a few seconds now just to note that down if you haven't already. And hopefully that's going to make it much clearer for you. Okay, has everyone written it down? I hope so. Don't worry, you have access to the video on Tuesday. If you're not sure, then you've got a very similar triangle to this in the materials from Tuesday, so you can have a look at those. Now, other thing I talked about on Tuesday was introductions, main body paragraphs, and conclusions. And another thing I want to do today is go over those with you. So, the first thing we want to look at are the introductions. The introductions. So, introduction. So, everyone say it after me. Introduction. Introduction. Okay, very good. So, the introduction. Now, first question for you. Can you remember what it means? Okay, I'm going to give you some time, and I want you in, let's say, 30 seconds. We're going to time you 30 seconds. Can you write down what you think introduction means? How much can you remember from the video you looked at before? Introduction. What does it mean? Okay, 30 seconds. Over to you. Go. Okay, so how did you get on? Introductions, as you may remember, are the start of your essay. Ignore that one for now. They are the start of your essay. So, the first part of your essay, where the argument, so remember, argument just means what you want to say. So, the first part of your essay, where what you want to say is introduced. That's the introduction. The main thing to remember about the introduction is it comes at the start. And what I want you to think about is when you start writing about something, the reader, let's say the reader is me, when I start reading, I don't have any idea what you're going to be saying. So your introduction is a link from the reader not knowing anything to them reading what you're saying. So when you introduce your topic, you are saying, here's what I'm going to be talking about. Here's what I'm going to be talking about. This is what I'm going to be talking about. This is what I'm going to be talking about. Your introduction is all about that. This is what I'm going to be talking about. If you can make that clear, then it's a good introduction. Clear, being clear, is a really important thing when you're writing essays. Almost more important than everything else, especially at this stage, at the beginning of our journey together writing. Being clear is super important. Afterwards, we can think about how we can make really intelligent, clever points. But for now, we're going to think about how we can write clearly to get your message across. And that's what the introduction is all about. It's all about being super clear, making it really obvious what it is that you are talking about, and also why is it important to talk about it? Why should the reader read what you've got to say? That's what the introduction is all about. This is what I'm going to be talking about, and this is why it matters. So, if you can do these two things in your introduction, then it's a good introduction. You talk about, this is what I'll be talking about, you introduce your topic, and then you say, this is why it matters. This is why you should read my essay, because that's what you want them to do. You want them to read your essay. You've put the time in to write it, now you want them to read it. Okay, let's go through the other two parts that we looked at in Tuesday's video, but I want to go through them in a little bit more detail with you now. So, we talked about the introduction. Now we're going to talk about the main body paragraphs. Main body paragraphs. So, as I've said for you underneath, it's the main part of an essay where the argument, remember, argument, what you want to say about the topic, it's where you develop that. So in the introduction, you started to talk about it, and then at the end, you're going to sum it up, but in between, think about it like a sandwich. If you have a sandwich, you have the first bit of bread, and then second bit of bread. That's your introduction. That's the top bit of bread. And then your conclusion. That's the bottom bit of bread. But in the middle, in the filling of the sandwich, you need some different things. You probably need something substantial, something that's going to really fill you up. I'm going to say you need at least 3 different things for a good sandwich. You're going to need maybe, let's say, some salad, let's say some meat or something kind of meaty, maybe some mushrooms, something like that. And you're going to need some sauce. You need at least 3 things to make it good. And it's the same with an essay. You need a combination of points in the middle to make your essay interesting. And these are the main body paragraphs. So I want you to think about them like the filling in a sandwich. So the bread is the introduction and the conclusion, which is when you finish. The main body paragraphs are what you put in the middle, yeah? And you need all of them together to make a really good sandwich. But the main part, the filling, that's your main body paragraphs, where what you want to say is developed. You've got a bit more time to get into your argument, to get into what you want to say. Okay, and just to finish us off, we're going to look at the conclusion. Now, if you remember, when we were talking about the introduction, that's when we first introduce things. We first bring ideas up and we say what you want to talk about and why it matters. Now, in the conclusion, you've already talked about stuff. You introduced it and then you developed it in those main body paragraphs. So your conclusion, this part here, your conclusion is where you sum up the things that you've said. You say, this is what I have talked about, and then you restate why it matters. So your conclusion is a kind of bringing together. You've put lots of different ideas out, and now you're bringing them together into a conclusion, and you're coming up with a final statement, a final sentence to say, this is why it matters, this is why it was important for me to talk about it. Okay, so final recap. The introduction starts us off. Then we have the main body paragraphs, which we'll look at in more detail in the next few weeks, what those actually look like. But for now, I just want you to think about, you start things off with the introduction, you develop them in the main body paragraphs. They're the chunky bit, the main course, the filling of the sandwich. And then you finish things off, you wrap things up with the conclusion, which brings all of your ideas together and allows you to recap and present your ideas in a nice, clear way. So that's another thing I really want you to remember, I really want you to think about, is being clear, writing in a clear way. And I'm going to ask for your help as we go through this course, because I want you to start checking your own work as we go through it. I want you to start checking your own work and see, do you think this is clear? Have I explained my ideas clearly enough? And the best thing you can do for that is to reread. So when you've written something, reread it and think, would this be clear to somebody who doesn't know about the topic? You might know a lot about NBA basketball, but I don't. So if you're writing me an essay about NBA basketball, you're going to need to be super clear for me because I don't know what's going on. So I want you to think about that when you write. Am I being clear? And is it going to be clear to someone who doesn't know as much as I do about this topic? Okay, each week we are going to have a chance to write. Now, each week you're going to have a chance to write, and that's going to be your best opportunity to get better. The best way to improve is to keep writing. Keep writing in English, keep trying things out. It might not be perfect every time, but I don't want you to worry about that. The most important thing is that you keep trying, you keep writing. And that's how you're going to get better, especially if you can do what I just said and you can check your work as you go and make sure it's nice and clear. So each week I'm going to give you a topic, a title for you to write about. And this week, the topic is the people who make a difference. You can see it on the screen there. There's a big pink arrow. The people who make a difference. Okay, so what does that mean? It means you're going to be writing about someone who's made a big difference in your life. So it could be a friend of yours, it could be a family member, it could be a sports coach, teammate, anyone like that. It could even be a pet. People, let's say people or animals. It could be anyone you like who's made a big difference in your life. But I want you to write me an essay that explains why. Why did they make such a big difference for you? So, two things you need to think about. Introducing who they are, and then explaining why they made a big difference. And crucially, think about an introduction, main body paragraph, and conclusion. So, hopefully that's clear for you. If you've got any questions or you're not sure, remember that you've got the information in front of you. It should be written down for you as well, so you can double check. And also you can ask your teacher in the academy if you have any other questions, and they'll get those back to me, and we'll look at them next week. Okay, thank you very much, guys, for joining me. It's been really nice to meet you, even if we're not in the same room together. It's very exciting to be doing this. And I'm very excited to be continuing our journey and to help you write the perfect English essay over the course of the next year. Thank you very much. See you next time. Bye.